Hello everybody, welcome along. It's Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, but you knew that already, didn't you? If you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe down there. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. It all helps towards getting the channel out there. So here we have this 1/35th scale Airfix Alvis Stalwart, or known as a Stolly. I've watched a couple of videos on this and there seem to be some differences among the models. Now, this image here is incorrect in that they've got this step here, and the step is actually back there. We actually have to drill holes for that. But there is this this sort of rectangular raised plate here, which I've got to replace with plastic card. If you remember when I did my seams and that, or getting rid of the sink marks, I'm going to replace that with a piece of plastic card. But I'm going to do it after the cab's built, because I'm going to be able to sand in and blend in this front corner and everything, so we'll get a nice blend in like that. Now, watching the videos, we all know the Chieftain's hatch and everything. He's done a video on one, and it differs from this. I couldn't see these plates on that one, but also the bolts around the window were very, very chunky. Then there's another one, which is a British vehicle, but that's a Mark 1 with the straight windows. So I'm sort of discounting that one. But then I found I think it was Sweden or Holland, somebody had restored one and they took it swimming. And it had very pronounced rivets around these windows, but nothing around the front or the side windows. And it's interesting that on the model, there are no rivets around the front or side windows. There are only rivets on there's a couple of rivets there, look. But there are only rivets on these side windows here. So very interesting, there are variations. So keep your eyes open. It might be nice to add these rivets around here to add a bit of interest, but we shall see. So I've decided to start building this because I've had a few emails from a few of you who have asked if I will do a build of it. I know one gentleman certainly said, I'm not touching mine until you touch yours. Okay, that sounds a bit odd. I've also had a comment from BP on my last video. And he's basically saying, why doesn't somebody build the MF? I don't know what he means by MF. Massey Ferguson, multifunctional, mega fun. I can't think for the life of me. Anyway, I'm sure a million of you will comment now because, yeah, you will. Tell me what MF stands for. That's all right, I know what it stands for, okay? So, without further ado, let's get stuck in. So underneath here, I have parts. So what I've done, I want to sort of build this like I did the Typhoon, sort of aiming it at newer modelers, but not beginners. So I'm not going to go through tools, and I'm not going to go through how to cut parts off the sprue and how to sand things and all that. I'll explain what I'm doing, but I'm not going to go into that much detail. This is not for beginners. This is for newer modelers or whatever. People that might be picking this kit, this might be their first major Airfix kit after a couple of starter sets or whatever, that kind of level. But anyway, so going through the instructions, looking at step one, we're adding in these chassis sides into the main floor. Here's the big floor. You can see here we've got a couple of large ejector pin marks in the cab, and I filled them with black CA glue. I've used this one here, Flexi 5K CA Black Thin, and you can get that from Brooks Models. I'll put some information below. If I forget, please tell me, but there's codes NMB10 and NMB20. You can use those and get yourself some discount over at Brooks Models. But this stuff is absolutely brilliant as a super glue. It's awesome. So I filled them in. I think they're covered up. I mean, for example, this piece here is going to go in there. Okay, so it's not covered up by that one. Let me put the light on for you. It's not covered up by that one. It's still visible, so let's wait and see. I thought for what it takes to fill them in, I may as well just, quick bit of CA and a quick, in fact there's a little bit still showing there, but I think the middle of that, the top edge of that one is certainly going to be covered up by a radio. Oh, and over here we've got this is what I've been calling the toolbox. I've now learned, thank you very much guys, this is actually a battery box. In there that fits in there, and in there are two massive batteries. So there we go. So in fact that fits in there like that. There we go, like that. Okay. From Moss, my recommendation from hearing what Moss had to say, when you fit this, temporarily fit the bulkhead in, because he fitted it in the slot like this and then found that the back of it was interfering with the bulkhead. So we'll dry fit the bulkhead before we fit this. We also need to get it painted. Anyway, so my intention in this video is to work through parts 1 all the way up to 13 and all the way into 17. Okay, I've just noticed here that battery box is optional, so you can either have the seat or the battery box there. Okay, a bit unusual. I didn't see that coming, but I think we'll have the battery box because it'll add a bit of interest, a bit of light grey amongst all the green and black. So starting with section 1, we'll get these parts out of the way. What we're going to do is we're going to fit these. These are the outboard motors, I suppose you call them. They go that way. These are the outboard sorts of jet propelled, jet wash, I don't know what to call them really. What I am going to do here, I'm going to take my sanding stick and I'm just going to sand a little bit off that corner because it feels like it's kind of pushing it away. Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit off of there as well. It's just so it fits a bit cleaner. There we go, that's much better. Okay, so that's an opening door there, and when they open that door, they close that door and open these vanes, and they can direct water forward so that they can reverse in the water. So there we go. So that's going to glue in there like that, and the same on the other side. But they're asking us here to drill holes. So I've got my microbox drills here. Again, these are come from Brooks Models. I would always recommend getting these in the grey or the blue box, and make sure microbox is written in capital letters. They should be around about £10. If you see boxes of drills like this and they're only about £3 or £4, just like the one Rob sells, they're okay, but they tend to be, I've done a video all about it, go and have a look, but they tend to be, instead of being 0.3, 354, 45, they tend to have like 4 lots of 0.4, then you'll have 3 lots of 0.5, and then you'll have 3 drills at 0.7. That's what they tend to be like. And if you watch that video, like where I did drill comparisons, you can see it on there. So I use those drills, and then we know the size is going to be okay, and they always cut very well as well. Sometimes the others can be a bit funny. So looking at this part here, so this is A12, okay, so we're going to flip it around, look at the inside, and it's telling us we need to drill a 1 mil hole, and you can see in there's a little pot mark there, and that's what we're going to drill. So we're going to go in there, and you can also see on here they're showing us that we've got to drill it at 90 degrees. So what we're going to do, we're going to hold that like that, okay, we're going to pick up on that pot mark, and we're going to make sure the drill is 90 degrees in that plane and 90 degrees in that plane, okay, and just drill that through. Okay, and if you're wondering why you've got to do this, it's basically because there will be other options that won't have, I'm just going to sand over that hole, there we go, that won't have the feature that's going to be going into that hole. So that's where they're getting you to drill the holes yourself. And then we've got the same on the other side here. So again, 90 degrees. It doesn't have to be exactly 90 degrees, guys, don't worry about that. Just approximately. And then sand over it, because when you go through you'll get like a little raised edge. Sand over it and then go back through this way. And you'll end up with a very, very neat hole, just like so. Okay. So, that's our holes. We've got some more drilling to do down here. So we'll get that done while we've got the drill out. So we've got this rear panel here, and you can see what they're showing is we've got to drill. Come here, book. We've got these 2 holes here we've got to drill. You can see them marked out, and we're going to drill them at 40 degrees. Okay. So what we're going to do here, you can see where these marks are. You can see that what they've done, they've given us an oval hole. So what I'm going to do is take a sharp point. You can use a pin or anything. And what I'm going to do is roughly in the center, roughly in the center there. I'm going to make a mark, and then I'm going to make a mark there. Okay, just like so. So that's in the center, and then I'm going to take a smaller drill, something like, I don't know, 0.6, something like that. Whatever happens to come out, it doesn't really matter. And what we're going to do is do what's called a pilot hole. Whoops. Okay, and then what I can do is, what I'll do is drill to the center of that hole, and I'm going to start square, just give it a quick twist, like that. So all I've done is just made that pot mark, and then I'm going to go like Airfix want me to go. I've now got that pot mark to keep the drill in the center, and then I can drill that hole at 40 degrees. I'll do the same on this side, just a quick twist, just like so, and then come through 40 degrees, roughly. Okay, it doesn't have to be precise. Right, so now we can take that drill out, put that one back in the box from where it came, and then we can go to our 1mm drill, and what we've got now is a pilot hole that this, remember when you drill holes, guys, not so much in plastic but particularly in metal, when you drill holes, the drill will always follow the hole before it. So what I can do now, roughly 40 degrees, come through there, and there we go, just like that. I'll do the same here, 40 degrees. Okay, so there's our two holes there drilled through at an angle. I'm just going to use a knife just to scrape away the little raised burr that we've got from drilling through, and then go back through this way just to clean up. Alright, a radius blade. I really do have a little edge of plastic that it doesn't want to go away. There we go. Right, so for some reason I seem to be working over this way a lot. I don't know why. Maybe I should move the camera. Hang on. Okay, so that's all our drilling done, so we can put the drills back in their drawer, and we can put the pointed tool away as well. So we've got our knives and our sanding sticks, all we need. Right, so we've done all our holes. We can now get on with the build. I've got a sanding stick here which I've actually cut the end to a point, so I can actually get in there and sand that if I want to. But once you've glued a part in there, it doesn't really matter about the tiny little bits of flash you've got on there. They'll just disappear with the cement anyway. But you can see the holes in there now, drilled through 40 degrees, and you can see we've actually removed the elongated hole they moulded in for us. So there we are, so that's cool. Right, so let's get on with this. So we've got this part here, and I believe it's going to be this one here because this is the one I've sanded already. So that's going to go in there. So it's a little bit cooler today, guys, so that's why we're modelling. I don't get my head blown off every time I take the top off the cement. So this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to back cement this so we get a nice clean joint. So I can put the cement in there, just onto that tab, and that will hold it. We got a lovely clean joint. There's no glue oozing out anywhere. Really, really clean and nice. Okay, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. Now again, I'm going to fit this on here. And that's a much better fit than the other side. What I am going to do is just remove a little bit from there and that corner there, just to let it sit right in. Okay, and then we'll just put some cement in there from the back. Just keep the pressure on. There we go. Again, we've got a lovely clean joint, so that's good. So there's our water exhausts done. So we're going to now add these to the floor. So we've got the floor here. You can see on the instructions here, they've got a little green, cut that off, that's a little ejector tab, that's got to come off, they're in here. And also where your sprue gates are, make sure you get those all sanded nice and smooth, because that'll determine how everything else fits. Okay, I'm just using a little Infini 400 stick here, again, Brooks models, but these I think are the best sanders on the market. So, that way round, so we want this side, so this one is going to go in here. You can't get them wrong because it physically won't fit, so don't worry about that. So that's going to fit in there like that. Now, you can see we've got an end panel here, we've got an end panel here, we've got a side panel here, and all of this has got to go together and fit neatly. We've got to try and make sure we don't get any nasty seams. So what I'm going to do here is just tack this in place. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll get some of our Tamiya white glue, which is very similar to a tube glue, it's quite thick. And what I'm going to do is put some of that on here, just to kind of tack this into place. I'm not even sure if this is going to contact. No, you see I've done that thinking it's going to contact, it's not even touching anything. So that's not worked at all. Alright, so what I'm going to have to do is put that in there. What I'll do is we'll forget the white glue, we'll get back to the Tamiya extra thin, and I'm just going to put a drop in there. A drop in there like so. Okay, you can see I've got some on there. I'm just going to quickly mop that up. That's come off. This is all going to be covered up, that's why I'm not worried about that. If you do get glue on your model like that and it's the surface that matters, leave it, don't touch it, just let the glue dry and it'll disappear. Okay, so that's tacked in place like that. And then we're going to fit the other side. Okay, I'm going to come in again with the cement. Be more careful this time. So there we go. Not enough cement in there. I can't get. I need to top my Tamiya extra thin up. We'll just hold that in place. Okay, so that's what I've done. You see, I've tacked it here, so now the ends are free to move. So when we come to put the ends on, we can play around with it and get nice joints. So the next thing we're going to do is fit this end panel. Bearing in mind we've already drilled the holes. So that's going to fit on there, and that is a beautiful fit. That is lovely. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to grab some of my orange tape. This is Mr. Hobby High Adhesion 10mm tape, and it's great for assembly. I wouldn't recommend it for masking because it'll just pull all the, whatever you're masking over, it'll pull it up, but it's fantastic for assembly because it's super adhesive. It's really good stuff. Okay, so that's that taped in place there. Alright, and we've got a lovely, you can see we've got a lovely seam around here. So what we can do then is just grab our extra thin. We'll put a drop in the corners if you like. We need to make sure it's properly cemented all the way around because we're going to deal with this seam the same as we did with the mould seams. What I wish I'd done is not fitted these yet because it's going to make it a lot easier to sand that. So what I'm tempted to do, if I can, is take these away. Yes, I'm going to take them off. So my recommendation to you, don't fit those at this stage because what we're going to do, we're going to get some filler in there and get rid of that seam. And it's going to be a lot easier to sand without those in place. too much cement on there, so we'll just put some into there, put some into there, and the capillary action will take the glue around. I'm going to put a peg on there to hold it down, if it will stay on there. That's better. Hold these sides down. Okay. I'm not gluing along this edge yet because the tape's on there, and if I get glue on the tape, it'll go under the tape and ruin the model. So that's good. So we'll leave those off. Now there's probably a weld joint there anyway, but I want to sand it smooth, because if you try and make it like a weld joint, it'll just look like a bad seam. I'm just going to make it smooth. It's all going to be probably covered in mud anyway. And then we've got the front panel here, which is A2. This is going to go on here the same. And again, that is a lovely, lovely fit. And you can see now why I haven't glued these side pieces in place. I can slot this on and I can move these around to get a lovely fit. Now this has no location. Those side panels have something to butt up against. Now if I have them butted up, I'm just looking, if I have those butted up there, this front panel doesn't fit as well, so I'm glad I didn't glue it. Right, so what I'm going to do, what I think I'll have to do is hold this in place, get some of the quick setting, in there. We'll get a drop of the quick setting into there. What I'm also going to do is, wherever that screw is, here. Now we can't actually fit this panel yet. Cut it off, leave a bit of sprue gate on there. This plastic cuts beautifully. There's been some talk about this being exactly the same as the grey plastic. As I told you in my part 2 of the getting rid of sink marks video, you can't have exactly the same material in a different colour. In my experience anyway. I'm a lot for debate on that, but in my experience it's not how it works. But yeah, it certainly feels a lot softer than the normal grey plastic. I'm just going to dry fit this to make sure that it's going to fit properly. I've got no doubts at all at the back end because it was perfect, but at the front here I just want to make sure we're going to be okay. We can't fit this. I'd love to fit this now, but we can't, because as you can see, you've got these slots here. That's where suspension parts are going to go. It's all going to be very firmly held in place. It's a nice design, I tell you. Right, so as you can see, it's fitting beautifully all the way along. So that's good. Right, so that can go back in the box. Now then, now we've got to try and get this seam here sorted. It kind of feels like these bits here along the edge feels like they're holding it away. When you push together, you can see you've got a gap. So we're going to take that away. You can see the model is not as it's drawn in the instructions. You can see here they've got like a flat step for it to go into, whereas on the model there's nothing there, which is a bit strange. So I'm just going to take, how's that approaching that? Just going to take some of that away. You see we've got a bit of a gap there. If I hold that in place like that, how's the front panel going to fit? You can see all this has got to come together and make a nice tidy joint. I'd rather have this nice and work on that. But the fact that the model is not as drawn in the instructions is a bit of a concern. It's getting better. You grab a coarser, well, this is a 400 again, but it's a bigger stick. I'm just going to take some meat away from here. It doesn't matter if it doesn't touch the hull, as long as it get a nice fit on those sides. There we go. You can see now we've got a lovely fits coming up together. So my recommendation is to sand away at the back here, the sides and that, because it's not as drawn. You can see here they've got this cutout, and also these sides are far away. I think this should have been further back, because I think these raised edges here, which is what given us our sink marks ironically, are fouling. So yeah, sand that area back, sort of back, 10-15 millimeters, and just remove some material from there, and it will go together a lot easier. Right. Okay, so once again what we'll do is we'll come in with the quick setting and we'll glue this back edge. Just like so. And then I should be able to put a close peg on there. No, what that's doing is pulling it down in the middle, so it's coming up at the sides. So what I should be able to do here is get a bit of tape and put tape on there and make sure it's away from the seam. And then I can take that down to there. And all I'm doing is holding this against the floor. And as you can see, I can bring the side in to make a nice seam. I need another pair of hands here. How am I going to hold that together? I can't hold this together. I don't want to put tape on it because I'm worried that the cement will get under the tape. What I'll do is I'm going to put a drop of ordinary extra thin there and then push this over and just hold it. Very, very visible part of the model. It's it's a big eye-catching point. It's where your eyes go. So bear that in mind. You want this seam to be nice. So do the same on the other side. It's still not perfect there. It still needs more off it. I can't believe it. Let me get this sorted off camera and then I'll come back when the joint's done. Okay, we got there in the end. I had to remove it yet again. You can see this, I should have filmed it I guess. There's this raised area here, and that is there because you've got the slot here for the dash I think to go into, and it was fouling. So what I've done was just sanded some material, scraped a bit and sanded some off of that to allow it to go down. I've been looking at the model and thinking maybe I've got these side panels a bit too far back, but when you actually look at how it all fits together, there's nowhere else for it to go. You've got these bits go down in these lugs, you've got this bit here. It could maybe have gone a very slight touch forward. You can see in here, if I just point you in there, you can see the gap there. Okay, but that's literally 5-10 thou. I've sanded probably 20 thou off of that at least, maybe even a millimetre to get that to fit. So I've got a feeling something's going on in this area. I'm not sure. Maybe this was designed for that to have a recess in it. That hasn't a recess in it, for there's nowhere for the tab that's supposed to go in the recess, like it's got on the back. There's nowhere for it to go. So bear that in mind. Now I know a lot of you are going to say I didn't have that problem with mine. That may well be the case. Have a look at your fit here, see how it fits, because this now is fitting perfectly. So the only concern we have now going forward is how this front end is going to fit, and it's looking like it's going to be perfect. Okay, so it's all looking good. Right, so actually I wonder how, it's the other side, if that's going to fit into there like that. I'm just wondering if I can mock this up. This will determine the angle the front end sits at. So it's back like that. So yeah, as you can see, it's going to be absolutely fine. So maybe you couldn't see that then. Maybe I should show you again. It's going to sit back like that. You can see the angle there. Because it's going to be absolutely fine. There's a bit of a fit issue here. It's like this is slightly narrower here. So it looks like we're going to have to take a little bit of material away from there when we come to fit that. But it looks like just a couple of swipes there will help to get it to fit in there a bit nicer. Okay, right. So the thing is, guys, some of you are going to complain that it should fit together, it should be better than that, it should be this, it should be that. It is what it is, okay? We're modelers. Part of modelling is making things fit together. If you want to just buy kits that you can just glue together and paint, then maybe you should stay with Tamiya, but remember, even some of those aren't the best. So just bear that in mind. So that's that done. Okay, so other than these water exhausts, as I call them, that's all done. Okay, right, so now while this is drying, I don't want to put any more cement in these seams. I want this to just all dry off and tack off, and then I'll put Mr. Surfacer in there and sand it all smooth so we've got a nice seam-free joint. That'll obviously be off camera, but now we can come along and start looking at our seats. So we've got here, we have, this is the driver's seat. Alright, so we've got two frames and a base. Now that's not a base, that's a base. So we've got C39, we've got 3 of these C39s. So that base is going to go onto these frames, and we'll have these with the ejector pin marks inside. So that's going to go into there like that, I'm assuming. Got a bit of a mould seam on the front of there. I did hear somebody complaining about these seat frames being a bit chunky. Yes, they are quite chunky. Can you see them on the finished model? Not really. But what I will say is, if you go to the other extreme, you get something like a mini art kit, where this seat would be made up of 15 parts and 4 of those would be photo etch, and then it's all extremely fragile and you can hardly even pick it up without breaking it. And then when you get it all at the end of the day, you can't see any of it anyway. So, you know, bear that in mind. And if you're wondering what's happened to World War I series, nothing's happened to World War I series. I just haven't done anything on it because of the horrible weather we've been having. I know some of you will say it's bloody beautiful weather. Not as far as I'm concerned, it's not. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry, sat in its final resting place. Okay, so we can slot that into that floor there, push down on the seat base. Whoops, it's not supposed to come out, it's supposed to stay in there. But that way you're guaranteed that when it's all ready to go in, it'll be a lovely fit. So that can sit there and dry. We've got to add the back as well. There's the backrest. Here's the backrest. So that's just going to sit on there with a gap at the bottom. I'm not quite sure. There's no actual location for this. You see it can slide all the way down, or you can have it a bit further up. So what I'm going to do is just hold it in position with a bit of a gap, like that. It was actually funny watching the chieftain, because he's a big old guy. He's a big bloke, and he looked very uncomfortable sat in this driver's seat. His head canted over and rubbing on the roof, and yet he said he drove one. He absolutely loved it. I don't know how he could have enjoyed it, because he literally had no room between himself and the roof. His head and the roof were an interference fit. There we go. That doesn't want to stay in there because it's back heavy, but you get the idea. So now it'll dry like that. So what I can do is put something under the floor at the back to keep. So what I'm doing is putting these here like that, and then that'll stay there. So we'll put that there, and that can dry. They're little tiny they're cocktail sticks with cotton bud on the end. They were bought for me by Steve. Thank you very much. So we have a pair of seats to build up. So you can see on here, on the back of here, we have tread plate. The reason for that is they fold these down, and then when you get in, you can stand on the tread plate, and then once you're in, you fold them up and they become your seats. So there we go. So there's our 2 bases, and we want 2 backs, sorry, and we want 2 bases to go on there. So there's 1, there's 2. So these are going to be, I think, an obvious fit. Yeah, it's a very simplistic build, this, guys. Don't be put off by what you've seen me do with the fit on the front. Just be prepared to do a little bit of sanding if you want to get a nice perfect fit on it. And if you don't want to get a perfect fit on it, then don't worry about it. There we go. You see, now personally, when it comes to stuff like this, I prefer this to the likes of mini art, because that's, you know, there's a total of 4 pieces there to build 2 seats, and when you look through the window, all you're going to see is that. So you don't need a nice detailed frame with photo etch bloody adjustment brackets and all that. It's nice to have, it's nice, it's fun for the build, but, you know, do you need it? Do you really need it? And I'm just going to check. I don't think I'll be using that seat because I'll be putting the battery box there. I just want to check. Go away. I just want to check this is going to fit in here. Yes, it does. It fits beautifully. Okay. Just look at that. Have I got that seat back square on there? There we go. Right, so I think that's dry enough now to be left, so they can be put over there. Yeah, these are what Steve got me. They're little cocktail sticks with a cotton bud on the end. How brilliant are they? Thank you, Steve. Right. So there we go. So now they're asking us to fix all the seats and everything into position. I'm not going to do any of this yet. I'm going to first of all get these seams dealt with on here, because otherwise when I'm holding it I'm going to start breaking everything off. So there we go. Now, I said at the beginning of this video we were going to go up to part 17. I didn't expect to have to do this work around the front here, and I didn't expect to have to deal with any seams. I thought they were going to be joints like this that you would just lightly go over and sand. But the front one is like a corner to corner joint, and we probably will just get away with a little bit of sanding because it is that good of a fit. But what I'm going to do now is let this dry. In fact, what I can do now on camera is we're going to take this tape here and lift it up, move it over there, do the same with this one. Get it away from there. What I want to do is glue this chassis section to the floor. Now, as you can see, we've got a bit of a gap on this side, so it's going to go down. You can see the gap there. I can close it up with my fingers. We don't really have much of a gap over there. So what I'm going to do is get one of my Rebel Hobby clamps. These are, everyone's going to ask, these are made by a company in Sweden called Rebel Hobby. You can get them online. They are very good. I enjoy using them very much. And just give that a very gentle pull down. I'm going to go around the other way actually, because it's this side that's got the gap, isn't it? So just give that a gentle little squeeze together. You can really pull these down and really start to cause issues, but we don't need to be doing that. And what I'm going to do is get some extra thin and run it into there. As you can see, it will capillary along. There we go. So that's our front end glued down. And then the back end, I'll grab another one of these clamps and pull. Just give that a little, just to add a bit of it's interesting. A gap on this side and not that side. So I think what I'm going to do is clamp that one there and clamp this side as well. Just put some drops of extra thin in there, and that'll capillary along the joins, or wick along the joins should I say. And the clamp falls off, which is just not what we wanted, is it? This is the problem, I'm not putting much pressure on them. I don't want to go distorting things. Oh, come on. Look at this pushing the side down now. I'm just going to have to hold it while the glue dries. Back in a minute. Okay, so we're all glued up now. I've gone all the way around the seams. I haven't done this front edge. I'm not going to glue that there because I don't know where it's touching or where it's not touching or whatever, so we don't want to risk pulling it out of shape. But once this glue is all dry here, I'll remove the tape and I'll go over those seams again. Then we'll go around with some Mr. Surfacer, get those all filled nice and smooth, get them all sanded out, and then they'll be lovely then. And then we can fit these water drivers as well. So I'm afraid we're going to have to call it a day there, guys, because obviously I want to get this video out and I don't want to be leaving it for 2 days while I do Mr. Surfacer and letting it dry and letting the glue dry and all that stuff. So I will see you back in, I don't know, 3-4 days or whatever when I've got all that done, and then we can get on with getting this interior built up. And we will also do some painting. So what I intend to do is probably build it all up other than the battery box. And in fact I may even put, no, I'll probably leave the battery box separate. But I think the bottom here needs to be green, so I think we'll paint that green and then we'll mask it and we'll spray the battery box grey so that it sort of fits, and then we'll get some dirt and then get some wear on the floor on the checker plate and everything. Today is Monday. I'm hoping this video is going to go out today. Tonight at 8 PM you have on Moss's channel, Moss6510, he has a live stream every Monday, Airfix and Chill, and I think tonight the subject is all about this kit. So if you want to go and watch that, I may be on there, probably won't be, but I may be. So there we go. As I say, everything you've seen me using on here you can get from Brooks Models. Use the discount codes as pointed out in the description below the video. And sorry, you can't get these clamps from him. But there we go. So thank you for the BP for the kick up the arse to get this done. And I'm sure a lot of other people will be grateful as well. So see you in a couple of days for the next part. In the meantime, I've got work to do. And I've got a Fiat 131 to build as well. So not model, a real one. I've got lots of Fiat 131 models to build, but I've got a real one in the garage which needs some work. So we'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.